Thanks for clicking on the Wayne.com sports page to talk Inside the Zone with our good buddy Blake Sebring of the News Sentinel. We didn't know for a long time whether we were going to talk playoffs at the end of the regular season or not. The K's clinching a spot on Friday night and, finished up with the 8th seed due to some other circumstances, including...
Yeah, finally it was out of their control.
Right. On Saturday, so they'll face the top-seeded Reading Royals.
And you could say that the Royals are a royalty in the ECHL. You know, if you wanted to go with that pun.
You could, but we're not going to want to go with that pun.
Okay.
Get thee to a punnery, I believe is the way Shakespeare would say. But as far as Reading goes, you mentioned it, they're good.
Yeah, they're
Flat
really
out,
good.
They're good. They won the Kelly Cup last year. They showed no signs of slowing up this year. Just on a basic overall view, what do you see as this going forward into this series?
I see that Reading had the same problems the Komets had early. They were like a 500 team in mid-December, and then they just took off like crazy. They're very, very good defensively. They got great goaltending. They've won. They've got 6, 7, 8, 9 guys who've won it before. They have the home ice advantage. They're great on the road. They're just a really good team. They're going to be really, really hard to beat.
I know this is weird in most seasons, but for this, it's par for the course for this season. Reading has played in Fort Wayne 3 times. They've won 3 times. The Komets have played in Reading this season 1 time, and of course, the Komets won that one. So everyone has won. The home teams are 0-4 this season in this matchup between these two teams. Does that play anything into what we're going to be seeing over the next week and a half?
Oh yeah, big time.
You think so?
Especially when you think of Ben Meisner, who's 12-1 on the road. He didn't play Reading this year. They don't know what he's got. It's really interesting that way too. So, yeah, I think there's a puncher's chance for the Komets. I really do. They have to win the first game. And then they put the pressure on the Royals, and we'll see how they react. And we'll see how the Komets react. They're not exactly been great this season when they've been in front. It's kind of been interesting. But they've played much better down the stretch. The problem is that, these are the 2 hottest teams in the Eastern Conference right now. Because Reading was just as good down the stretch, too. So it's kind of interesting that way. The final week, the Royals, I think they rested some players. They struggled a little bit there. I don't put a lot of stock in that. I'd look at Larry Corville, who's been around for 5 years. He's just a great coach. They just play the game the right way.
You mentioned the goalies. You mentioned the goalie in Meisner for the Komets, but goalies in general in this series, you've got Anderson, you've got Gill. 2 guys, if you look at the ECHL stats, in the top 10 in goals allowed. So they got 2 really good, solid goaltenders. Is that a byproduct of having 2 really good goalies, or perhaps their defense is pretty good in limiting shots, or is it kind of a little bit of both?
It's both. It really is. When the Royals are playing well, they're playing defensive first. They limit you on your chances, and they figure they'll get their goals whenever, and they do. They have nobody who scored 60 points this year, but they have a lot of guys who scored 40 to 50 points. And, Yannick Tifu never scored a lot against the Komets all the way back to his days in Rockford, but he always scores the game-winning goals. They've got a lot of money players who just come up when they need to.
Second least goals allowed in the Eastern Conference behind South Carolina with Jakaitis.
Yeah.
That's kind of expected, I guess you might say, but obviously very good defensively. When you look at the Komets, you mentioned how hot they are recently, 8-2-1 in their last 11. What's allowed them to have this kind of success, and can it be something that translates into the playoffs? Because the carrot was kind of dangling in front of them with that playoff. They didn't want to be, the first team since '75 to lose, or not make the playoffs back-to-back seasons.
Yeah.
Can they keep it up? Will they keep it up?
I think it's interesting. They're healthy as they've ever been. They're deeper than they've ever been now because with Dean Ouellette coming back. They are in as good a spot as they can be in right now, which they haven't had all year, really. Everybody's healthy. There's nobody on IR. So, again, they're confident. Meisner's great on the road. They're healthy. They're deep. They have a chance. Obviously, Reading has to be favored in this series. They are the defending champs. They are the Eastern Conference champions. They deserve to be favored in this series. The question for the Komets is, how much can they make it into a long series?
You feel
the longer it goes, the better the chances the Komets have, obviously. Because if it's going to be a sweep, it's not going to be Fort Wayne sweeping Reading. It's going to be Reading sweeping Fort Wayne.
Yeah, and the 2-3-2 actually isn't a terrible thing, I guess, if you're the Komets, really.
I don't know. I'm not sold on a 2-3-2 format yet because I'm not sure the Komets can win 3 games in a row at home. They've only done it a couple times all year. And to do it against a really good team like that, it's like they almost have to look at it as it doesn't matter where the games are. It's just, home ice doesn't do us any favors, but it doesn't hurt us either. And just every game one at a time, period, and play it like you're going to be in Reading every game.
Well, one of the things that the Komets historically have done well, the Frankies seem to pick up a guy like right at the end that helps with the playoff push. Justin Hodgman was the poster boy for that.
Sure.
A few years ago, a couple times a few years ago. Justin Sefton, you're talking about a 2011 third-round NHL pick, defenseman with some talent that they picked up, 21 years old, young guy, young legs. What do you see from this guy, and can he be a difference maker?
I saw some physical play from him. I was really impressed with the way he kind of fit in to the lineup. He wasn't trying to rush it up ice. He didn't try to do anything he couldn't do. He just played his spot, and that was defensive first, second, and third. And he moved guys out in front of the net, and he wasn't afraid to try to stir things up a little bit. He didn't look... he looked like a rookie in that he was a little tentative, but as the game went on, he was much more initiating things and just going after it, and I like that a lot. I was really impressed with Steven Summerhays, the rookie goalie out of Notre Dame, who I think he just plays. I like the way he handles himself. He just looks more mature than he is. Everything's going crazy around him, and he's just like, whatever, I've got it. He's just very calm, and he kind of projects that to his team, which is very critical.
That was the next thing on the list right there, Steven Summerhays. What about him? Obviously, he played at Notre Dame. They've had great success, especially the last couple of years, played in big games. What makes him a good fit, and can he be a benefit to this team in the playoffs?
Yeah, he sure can. He's very technically sound. He plays his angles really well. He comes out to challenge shooters. He controls the rebounds. And it's not always just to the corners. Sometimes he used his blocker to shove the puck outside the zone or right up the middle maybe to get something started offensively too. He's very aware of the game situation and where he's at. Like if he noticed that a couple times I saw where guys had been out there for a while, they needed a line change, and he knew they were just going to ice it and they weren't getting anywhere, so just cover it up. Get a face-off, get a line change, we'll start over. He's very aware of the game situation. So
Summerhays and Sefton, new guys. But one guy we saw all season long, Brandon Marino, officially with the season coming to a close on Sunday night. He is the ECHL's points champion. 88 points, 5 points ahead of the next guy. At the beginning of the season, would you have said he had a chance to do this, or does it surprise you at all?
No, it doesn't surprise me at all. What surprises me, and what I thought was interesting, is Brandon never got Player of the Week. You think about that. You're the leading scorer in the league, and you never got Player of the Week. And that's not a knock on the ECHL because Brandon never had a stellar week where he got 9, 10, 8 points. He always got 4 points every week. He was always consistently there. He was always a threat in every game. He didn't take any games off. He was just really, really good. And I thought that was really a testament to his consistency.
You and I talked a little bit about this off camera, but ECHL MVP, obviously you think the points leader has a chance.
Sure.
He's in the discussion. Where do you see that award going? Because that certainly would be even a bigger feather in the hat of somebody like Brandon Marino.
I see that going to Jeff Giakaitis. And I look at that as, and you could look at it for Brandon this way too, is without Giakaitis, where does South Carolina finish? They'd be 6th, 7th, somewhere in there maybe. Brandon, even with his great year, the Komets still finished 8th. So I guess I would go with Giakaitis. That's where my vote went.
I understand. I guess my thing would be, if you didn't have Marino on this team, are you even in the playoffs? And that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I South Carolina perhaps has a better chance statistically to win a championship or go further in the playoffs. But you take Brandon off. Well, where do those 88 points come from?
Yeah, I guess I look at it too as, because of his consistency, he never had a hot streak.
Yeah.
So maybe that's one area where that hurts him a little bit. He never had the headline-grabbing stretch,
Well, first game in this first round series is Thursday at Reading. They're going to play Saturday at Reading. So in those two games, specifically in that first game on Thursday night, what are you looking to see, and what are going to be some of the... You're making the drive, correct?
Yeah, I'm making the drive.
So you'll be able to get all that good stuff on tailing the Komets. So what are you looking forward to seeing out of the gate from this Komets team and maybe from this Reading team as well?
I think it's really important for the Komets to score first. Let Reading know this is going to be a series pretty quickly. I don't think it's going to do the Komets good to fall behind, because then Reading's just going to build up more confidence. I think it's important for the Komets to score first and send a message that, we're here. We're not intimidated. We're not, you guys are really good, but we think we're really good too.
Final question, Gary Graham. Obviously, he had a great run in the playoffs last year down in Pensacola, won the championship for them. But a different animal in the ECHL. How do you think he handles this first go-round of the playoffs, not only for him, but for the Komets as well, as a team, as a franchise?
I think he's an ace in the hole in the playoffs,
Really?
and I'll tell you why. He is so good at scouting reports. I remember when the Komets were playing Wichita in the Central League, they would have times where Gary would show them in the scouting report where they could get shots from. And Vasquez would go to the spot and score, it was like, and they'd all be like, wow, that was there, so they really, once they get some proof that the scouting reports are really wide open and really good, they'll start to trust it even more. And he's fantastic at picking apart opponents on this kind of thing. This is what he lives for. This is his favorite part of his job. And I think he'll do really, really well at it.
Regardless, you're going to get 4 looks at the same team,
right,
which gives you a lot of time to dissect. And there's a decent amount of time in between to really retool.
Oh, he watched them all. He watched them all on Sunday. I was kidding him. I was like, you going to sleep in tomorrow? No, I got tape to watch. He was going to watch every game on Sunday and start notes then. And then he's going to watch them again today on Monday. He's going to watch them twice.
It will not be lack of preparation.
No.
If things go a different way. But
what was impressive to me, too, is, Ben Meisner really celebrated. The guys themselves didn't celebrate too terribly much at clinching the playoffs. They were happy. I don't want to say that. They were, but it's like, I think they like where they're at right now. I really think they do.
All right. Should be very interesting. 1 versus 8, but you can throw out those regular season records, especially considering how well the Komets have played the last month and how things tend to evolve in the playoffs, especially when you're talking about
and one injury can turn it too.
Absolutely.
You never know in the playoffs.
Or a call-up.
Yeah, that's true too.
You never know what's going to happen when those AHL teams come plucking somebody out like an eagle, flying highly above. All right. He's Blake. I'm Glenn. On that note, we will end it, and we'll see you next week talking Komets playoff hockey.